I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 10 years now. We got married when we were both still in our 20s, fresh out of college, full of big dreams and promises. At the start, everything seemed perfect. Lisa was ambitious, confident, and really good at hiding her insecurities behind that bitchy attitude of hers. I always thought she was the one, the girl I'd grow old with, the one I'd trust with everything. We had a pretty normal life. I work in finance, she's a freelance designer. We didn't have kids yet, just each other, and for a while that was enough. But in the last year, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. She'd get defensive if I asked where she was or who she was talking to. She started canceling plans, saying she had work or she was tired or some bullshit excuse. I shrugged it off at first, thinking maybe she was just stressed or busy. But then I saw the texts. I saw the messages from her phone late at night with someone named Jake, a number I didn't recognize. There were flirtatious emojis, inside jokes, and stuff that made my stomach turn. I tried to ignore it, tell myself I was imagining things, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Then I noticed she was acting differently around me, more dismissive, colder, less interested. She'd roll her eyes when I tried to talk about us, brush me off with biting comments. It was like she was already checked out, already somewhere else mentally. But I never thought she was cheating. Not really. I mean, she'd lie about small things, where she was, who she was with, so I figured maybe she was just hiding something but not necessarily cheating. The real blow came when I found the messages. I was cleaning out my closet, just a routine thing, when I saw her phone left on the kitchen counter. I glanced at it casually, and there it was, a string of texts between her and Jake from a few days ago. The stuff they said was dirty, explicit. She was talking about having sex with him, calling him her escape, and saying she couldn't wait to see him again. My heart sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I stood there for a second, trying to process what I was seeing, my hands trembling. I couldn't believe it. My wife, my partner, was cheating on me with someone I'd known since elementary school, the same guy I once made friendship bracelets with when we were kids. That friendship bracelet still sits in my drawer, a stupid little keepsake from when we were innocent. But it gets worse. I remember feeling this cold anger, but also this crushing sadness. I mean, I knew Lisa was a bitch sometimes, but I never thought she'd do something like this. It hurt so much knowing that she'd been lying to me, hiding this affair, and that she'd been unfaithful with Jake, who, by the way, is going through a divorce right now. I remember thinking, how long has this been going on? How many times did she see him? And why the hell did she lie about everything? I was furious, but I also felt utterly betrayed. I kept asking myself, how could she do this to me, to us? After everything we built, after all the years, she just threw it away like it was nothing. And the worst part, I felt like I'd been played for a fool. All those late nights, all those little fights, all the times she dismissed me, she was lying right to my face. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. Part of me wanted to scream, to demand answers right then and there. But I also knew she'd lie, spin some bullshit like she always does. The thing is, Lisa's a master at lying. She can be bitchy, sarcastic, and manipulative, and she always manages to make herself look innocent. I remember the last time she did that well. That's when I started planning what to do next. I had to gather my thoughts, figure out how deep this really went, and decide what I was going to do about it. Because honestly, I was at a crossroads, heartbroken, angry, but also determined to figure out the truth, no matter what. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. The image of her with Jake, the way she'd lied right to my face more times than I could count, it all came crashing down at once. I needed to talk to her, but I also knew she'd just deny everything or turn it around on me. That's her style. Bitchy, manipulative, always ready with a quick lie or a sarcastic remark to make you doubt yourself. Still, I couldn't just ignore it anymore. I needed to confront her, face her, get some answers. That night I waited until she was in the shower. I grabbed her phone, hesitated for a second, then unlocked it. I wasn't trying to invade her privacy out of some petty curiosity. I was desperate for the truth. As I scrolled through her messages, my stomach churned. There were more texts than I expected from different times, all detailing her meetings with Jake, their plans, their secret rendezvous. She was lying to me about everything. She told me she was going out with her friends, that she was busy with work. To me, it was just excuses. But behind my back, she was sneaking around with him, making plans to cheat on me, to cheat on her divorce. I found a few pictures too. Dirty shots she thought she was sending to him, but I saw them, vivid, explicit. That was the moment I decided I wouldn't hold back anymore. I'd heard enough. I closed her phone, my palms sweaty, and waited for her to come out of the shower. When she did, I was already sitting on the couch, eyes burning holes into her. She looked surprised, maybe even caught off guard, but quickly her bitchy smirk returned. "So, what's going on?" I asked calmly but with a cold edge. She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh, here we go. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I was just talking to Jake, that's all. You're blowing this way out of proportion." I stared at her, feeling the heat rising in my chest. "Nothing. Lisa, I saw the messages, I saw the pictures. You've been screwing him behind my back. How long has this been going on? Tell me the truth." Her eyes flicked away and she gave me that irritated, dismissive look she always wore when she wanted to shut someone up. "Seriously, Mike, you're being paranoid. Jake, going through a divorce, he's a friend, that's all. We're just talking, maybe messing around a little. Nothing serious." "You're overreacting as usual." I couldn't believe her. She was lying so blatantly, so effortlessly, it made my stomach turn. "Just talking. You think I'm stupid? I saw the pictures, Lisa. You're having sex with him, you're cheating, and you're lying about it because you think you can get away with it." She snapped back. "Oh, please. You're acting like I'm some kind of slut. So what if I talked to him? Maybe I needed someone to talk to. Maybe I needed a little excitement. Is that so wrong? You're so damn boring, Mike. Maybe I just wanted some fun." That's when I lost it. I told her she was full of shit, that I wasn't going to be her punching bag. I told her I'd had enough of her lying, enough of her bullshit. I said I was sick of her treating me like I was stupid, like I didn't deserve the truth. And I told her that I wasn't sure if I could forgive her for this, that I was done with the lies. She just laughed, that nasty, bitchy laugh she always pulls when she's trying to manipulate someone. "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I'm still attractive and you're not. You think I'm perfect, but I'm not. Nobody's perfect, Mike. Maybe you should get a real job, start making some money, and stop acting like a jealous little boy." That was the moment I realized this was going nowhere. She wasn't going to admit anything, and she wasn't going to change. I felt a mixture of anger and sadness, that deep, stabbing pain that comes with betrayal. I knew I had to decide then and there what I was going to do, because this wasn't just some fling or a minor mistake. This was her throwing everything we had away for some guy who's probably just using her to get back at his wife. I never imagined she'd be capable of this, but here we were. I left the room that night knowing I couldn't stay silent forever. I had to think about my next move. I had to decide whether I wanted to fight for us or finally accept that she'd already checked out. I realized that my feelings, anger, hurt, betrayal, were only going to grow if I didn't do something. That's when I started planning my revenge, not just for her, but for myself. I wanted her to feel what I felt, what it's like to trust someone and then find out they've been lying all along. And trust me, I wasn't planning to go easy on her. The next day, I woke up with a sick feeling in my stomach. I knew I had to be smart about this, even if all I wanted was to tear her apart and shove the truth in her face. I started thinking about her routines, her habits, the people she interacted with, especially Jake. I knew he was no saint, and I knew Lisa's bitchy attitude could turn on a dime when she felt cornered. This wasn't going to be easy, but I was determined to get some clarity, to understand exactly how deep her betrayal went. I decided I needed leverage, something to make her admit the truth. I remembered the friendship bracelet Jake and I made as kids, something so stupid, so innocent, but it sat in my drawer, untouched for years. A tiny relic of a different time, when friendship was simple and trust was easy. I kept thinking about what that bracelet represented, how it was a symbol of innocence that now felt like a sick joke. I wondered if she still kept it, if she even remembered it. That little keepsake became a symbol of everything I felt: betrayal, loss, and a flicker of hope for justice. I started watching her more closely. She was quick to lie, quick to cover her tracks, but I noticed small things: her phone always silent, her attitude more aggressive, quick to dismiss anything I said. I noticed she was sneaking around with her phone, hiding it when I entered the room. I also found out she'd been meeting Jake at night, always claiming she was working late or out with friends. She was lying to everyone, and I had to find out if she was lying to herself too. I knew she'd deny everything, accuse me of paranoia, but I was ready for that. I had enough evidence that I no longer cared about her denials, so I set a trap. I left my phone in plain sight, an old trick but effective, loaded with a recording app. I made sure she saw it. That night I pretended to sleep, but I kept my ears open. I wanted her to slip up, to say something stupid. Sure enough, just before midnight I heard her whispering on the phone. She was talking to Jake, whispering like she was sneaking into a forbidden world. I could tell. She was trying to hide her voice, but I caught every word. I heard her say she was almost there, that he's asleep, and that she'd be back late. The words sliced through me like a knife, but I kept calm, listening carefully. The next day I confronted her again. I told her I had recordings, proof she was lying, sneaking around. Her bitchy attitude cranked all the way up, and she spat at me. "You're crazy. You're just jealous because I still look good and you're insecure. You're paranoid and you're making shit up. You're always accusing me of something. Maybe you're the one cheating behind my back." I looked at her, calm but cold. "Lisa, I have evidence. I know about your late-night calls, your meetings with Jake. I even have recordings. So don't try to turn this around on me. It's you who's been lying, not me. You've been cheating on me with your childhood friend while I was offering him our guest room so he could escape his divorce. I was trying to be a good husband, a good friend, and all along you were screwing him." Her face turned red. That bitchy, arrogant smirk faltered for a second, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, stop it, Mike. You're overreacting. Jake's a good guy. He's going through a rough patch, and you're just jealous because I still have some life in me. Maybe if you were more exciting, I wouldn't have looked elsewhere." That was when I snapped. I told her the friendship bracelet I kept, the one we made as kids, was in my drawer, and that it represented our innocence, our trust, and how she had shattered all of that. I told her I was done pretending everything was okay, that I was sick of her lies, her manipulations, her bitchy attitude. I told her I was going to leave, that I couldn't stay with someone who didn't respect me, who threw away a decade of marriage for some stupid affair. Her reaction was priceless. She went from bitchy to furious in seconds. "You're pathetic, Mike. You're just a jealous, insecure loser. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. Jake makes me feel alive. Maybe it's you who's the problem, not me. You're just too boring." She stormed out of the room, calling me crazy and possessive, but I didn't care. I had what I needed, enough proof to finally make a decision. That day I made up my mind. I wasn't going to keep playing her game. I'd been humiliated enough. I knew the truth now, and I knew what I had to do. I realized that sometimes the only way to get justice is to cut your losses and walk away. I was done being the fool. I needed to get out, to rebuild myself without her lies and betrayal hanging over my head. But I also knew I'd never forget what she did. That betrayal would sit with me forever. How she cheated with my oldest friend from elementary school during his divorce while I was offering them a safe space. That friendship bracelet still sits in my drawer, a silent reminder of everything I lost, everything I'll never get back. After I made my decision to leave, everything felt like a blur. I packed a bag quickly, not even bothering to tell her I was going. Honestly, I didn't want a big scene or a drawn-out fight. I just needed to get away from her bitchy attitude, her lies, and the betrayal that cut so deep. As I was grabbing my things, I caught her smirking at me from the doorway, that same dismissive look she always had when she thought she was better than everyone else. I saw the arrogance in her eyes, and it only fueled my anger. I left the house without saying much, just told her I needed some time to think. I drove straight to my brother's place, someone I could trust, someone who wouldn't judge me, who'd listen. I needed to process what I just uncovered and figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. Sitting there in his living room, I started reliving everything. The lies, the cheating, her bitchy attitude, the friendship bracelet I kept in my drawer. That bracelet meant so much to me, a symbol of childhood innocence, and now it felt like a sick joke, a reminder that she'd betrayed everything good we ever had. For days, I stayed away from her. She kept texting, calling, trying to play the victim, acting like I was crazy for suspecting her. She called me possessive and paranoid, told everyone I was overreacting, that Jake was just a stressed-out friend who needed her comfort. But I didn't buy any of it. I knew her better than that. I knew she was a bitchy liar who always thought she was smarter than everyone else. And I knew Jake. He was no innocent party. He was just using her to get back at his wife, just like she was using him. One thing I didn't expect, though, was that she'd escalate her games. That bitchy attitude of hers only got worse. She started showing up at places I frequented, giving me that cold, disdainful look like she was daring me to do something. She'd make snide comments in front of friends, trying to make me look bad, all while insisting she was innocent and misunderstood. I swear, her ability to spin stories was almost impressive. She'd twist everything to make herself the victim, the wronged wife, the misunderstood bitch. Meanwhile, I was trying to stay sane, to figure out whether I should fight for the marriage or just cut my losses. I kept thinking about that friendship bracelet, how it sat in my drawer, and how it symbolized the bond we once had, so pure, so simple, and how she'd shattered it for some guy she barely knew. I realized that every time I looked at it, it reminded me of everything I'd lost. That bracelet was a relic of innocence, now stained with her lies and betrayal. I couldn't wear it anymore. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. It was over. But the worst part was the emotional roller coaster. One minute I was furious, seeing her with Jake, realizing she'd lied to me for months. The next, I was drowning in sadness, feeling like I'd wasted so much time on a woman who never really loved me. I kept going back and forth, wondering if I should try to save the marriage, confront her again, or just walk away for good. I knew I deserved better. I knew I shouldn't let her continue treating me like a fool. Yet part of me still loved her, still wanted to believe there was a way to fix this mess. That's when I started considering my options. I thought about divorce, about suing for a financial settlement if I needed to, about blocking her from my life completely. I didn't want her to get away with it, not without some consequences. I wanted her to feel the pain of betrayal, the helplessness I'd been feeling. I wanted her to understand what she'd thrown away, her marriage, her integrity, the friendship bracelet we made as kids. All of it was now tainted, spoiled, forever stained by her bitchy lies. It's funny how betrayal changes you. I used to believe in trust, in honesty, in loyalty. Now I see those words as fragile as glass, easily shattered by someone you thought cared. I've learned that some people, especially ones like Lisa, think they can lie, cheat, and manipulate their way through life because they're convinced they're invincible. But I also know now that you can't fix a relationship built on lies. It's like trying to build a house on quicksand. No matter how much you want to save it, it's just going to sink deeper. So I decided I'd leave her to her own misery. I'd let her keep playing her games, spinning her lies, trying to act like the victim. But deep down, I knew the truth. She was the villain in this story. And I was the one who had to pick up the pieces, rebuild myself, and move on. Because the friendship bracelet in my drawer isn't just a childhood keepsake. It's a symbol of everything I lost, and everything I refused to let her take away from me anymore. The days that followed were some of the hardest I've ever had to endure. I started packing up my things, not in anger but in a slow, deliberate process of detaching myself from her. Every item I collected felt like a small act of reclaiming my life. Old photos, that stupid friendship bracelet I kept in my drawer, little mementos of our past. Each one reminded me of what we once had and what she threw away. It was like ripping off a Band-Aid slowly, knowing I couldn't undo what she did but still trying to regain some control over the chaos. I couldn't stop thinking about the lies. How she always had an excuse, how she could spin a web of bullshit so effortlessly. She would deny everything, deny the affair, deny the betrayal, deny that she ever cared about Jake. She called me paranoid, said I was overreacting, that I was making problems out of nothing. But I had proof now, real proof, recordings, messages, photos. I knew her better than she thought, and I knew she was a bitchy, manipulative liar who'd do anything to keep her lies hidden. One day she showed up at my workplace unexpectedly. I saw her across the parking lot acting like she was just checking in on me. That bitchy smirk of hers was back, like she still thought she could control the situation. She started throwing sarcastic comments my way, trying to provoke me into losing my cool. But I stayed calm, knowing she wanted to see me break. I just looked at her and said, "You can't lie your way out of this anymore, Lisa. I know the truth. And I'm done playing your stupid game." She stormed off, but I could see the anger bubbling under her surface. That was the moment I realized she wasn't going to just walk away quietly. She was going to fight, scratch, claw, whatever it took to save her reputation in her own warped way. But I didn't care anymore. I'd had enough of her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations. I'd finally made up my mind I was leaving her. For good this time. I couldn't keep pretending that I was okay with her cheating with Jake, especially knowing he was going through a divorce. That fact made everything worse. Like, she was doing it to spite everyone, including me. The more I thought about the betrayal, the more I realized how much she'd changed. She used to be confident, ambitious, a little bitchy but honest. Now she was just a liar, an insecure woman who thought she could get away with anything because she was still attractive and better than most. That's the part that really got to me, her arrogance. She thought she was untouchable, that her bitchy attitude could hide everything. But I wasn't buying into her lies anymore. I saw her for what she truly was, a selfish, manipulative woman who'd done everything she could to destroy what we had. I also started reflecting on how her betrayal affected me emotionally. I'd always considered myself a strong guy, but this shook me to my core. I felt humiliated, angry, and deeply betrayed. But underneath all that, there was also a sense of relief. Relief that I finally knew the truth and that I didn't have to live in this lie anymore. I didn't want to be with someone who saw me as a fool, who thought she could cheat and lie her way through life, all while pretending to be the victim when caught. So I made a plan. I knew I had to be strategic if I wanted to get through this without completely destroying myself. I decided I'd take some time to heal, to think about what I really wanted, and to figure out the best way to move forward. I didn't want a messy divorce fueled by anger and resentment, but I also knew I couldn't stay with her. My main goal now was to protect myself, emotionally and financially, and to make sure she understood she'd lost more than just her marriage. She'd lost my respect and trust forever. Looking back, I realize how much this has opened my eyes. I trusted her blindly, thinking she was the girl I'd marry, the one I'd grow old with. But she proved me wrong. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her cheating. I learned that some people are just inherently selfish and manipulative. I learned that the friendship bracelet I kept in my drawer, a symbol of childhood innocence, was now a reminder of how easily trust can be broken. And I learned that sometimes, the only way to reclaim your dignity is to walk away, even if it hurts. Like hell, because holding on to lies and betrayal only makes everything worse in the end. The days that followed were a blur of legal advice, emotional exhaustion, and trying to piece my life back together. I finally moved out of the house, into a small apartment nearby, where I could breathe without the constant reminder of her bitchy attitude and the betrayal that stained everything. It was a fresh start, but one shadowed by the memories of what she did, cheating with Jake during his divorce, while we were supposed to be building a life together. That friendship bracelet I kept in my drawer, the one we made as kids, now symbolized something darker. It was a testament to innocence lost, trust shattered, and a love that turned into lies. I spent days reflecting on everything: the betrayal, the lies, the fact that she had tried to manipulate everyone around her into believing she was the victim. But I knew the truth. I knew she'd been lying all along, using her bitchy attitude and her charm to cover her insecurities. That's what betrayed me the most. Not just her cheating, but her complete lack of remorse, her refusal to own up to what she'd done. Instead, she doubled down, acting like I was the crazy one, the jealous husband who couldn't handle her independence. Honestly, walking away was the hardest thing I ever did, but I knew I had no choice. Staying would only give her more power over me, more chances to manipulate and lie. I had to reclaim my dignity, my trust in myself, and move on. I've learned a lot from this experience: lessons about trust, about dealing with betrayal, and about recognizing when someone is just too selfish and manipulative to be worth your time. Now, I focus on rebuilding my life, on healing from the emotional scars, and on never trusting blindly again. The friendship bracelet still sits in my drawer, closed, untouched, and every time I see it, I remember the lesson it taught me. Some betrayals cut so deep that there's no going back. You have to walk away, even if it hurts, because in the end, losing her was a necessary step towards finding myself again. I may have lost a wife, a partner, and a future I once believed was ours, but I gained clarity and a resolve I never knew I had. And that's something no betrayal can ever take away.